This is part 1A of Languages CPA AT3. This is the questions posed to my Year 7 students in Japanese using the TPRS input.
Today we're learning about this Japanese flying squirrel. Hi. これは this です。これは this this です。this はい squirrel this です。そう。this の名前はコーダです。this の名前はないはい。this の名前はコーダです。名前はコーダです。Name is Coda. Hi. Liz no name. Squirrel's name. Hi. Liz no name wa Coda desu. Squirrel's name is Coda. Hi. そうです。みんな、名前は何ですか？名前は何ですか？What? 名前はコーダ。そうです。そうです。コーダです。はい。はい。みんな、名前はボブですか？ボブですか？いいえ、ボブありません。コーダです。はい。はい。何はコーダです？ What? リズ。はい。そうです。コーダはリズです。リズです。はい。コーダはリズです。はい。リズの名前はコーダ。コーダはリズです。はい。そうです。そうです。コーダはタヌキですか？タヌキ？コーダはタヌキです。いいえ、タヌキありません。コーダはリズです。はい、そうです。皆さん、コーダはかわいい？かわいい？かわいい？はい。はい、かわいいです。いいえ、かわいいじゃない。またまた。またまた。かわいい？かわいいです。はい、かわいいです。また、かわいいじゃない。かわいい。はい、そうです、そうです。皆さん、コーダは何ですか？コーダは何ですか？かわいいです。はい、そうです。お声じゃない。かわいい。皆さん、コーダは入るです。入る。入る。何？入る？入る？入る。Great! はい、そうです。入る。コーダは入るです。入るですか？はい、そうです。コーダは入るです。みんな、コーダは赤ですか？赤ですか？いいえ、赤じゃない、赤じゃない。コーダは緑ですか？いいえ、入るです。コーダは緑じゃない。コーダは入るです。はい、そうです。コーダは緑くない。コーダはかわいいと入るです。
Part 1B is giving instructions and questions to a Year 10 group doing a writing activity. Alright, Year 10s, today we are going to be starting our writing activity, which is writing the sentences for our story. You're going to come get a character sheet, a pencil and some paper. Go back to your seat. That is our first thing we need to do. Can I please have one person repeat these instructions? For those of you who weren't listening, thank you, Michael. We are going to come get a character sheet, a pencil, and some paper and go back to our seats. Beautiful. Character sheet, paper, pencil, seat. Alrighty, first group comes through. Character sheet, paper, pencil. Next group, character sheet, paper, pencil. Next group, character sheet, paper, pencil. All right, Can I have a show of hands? Does everyone have a character sheet, a piece of paper, and a pencil? Show of hands. All right, if you do not have one, now is your opportunity to come and get one. Character sheet, paper, pencil. All right, now everyone have a look at your character sheet. Can you see that it has a name and some likes and dislikes? Can I get a hi or a e? Awesome, great. So you are going to use this information on your character sheet to write your storybooks. We're going to just write sentences to start off with, then we will start the draft for our booklets. So your first sentence will be an introduction of your character, and the next 2 sentences will describe your character. These are the first 3 sentences I want you to write, and I want you to write them in pencil in hiragana. I have these instructions up on the whiteboard, but this is what I want you to do. For the next 5 minutes, you are going to construct sentences in hiragana, in pencil, introduce your character, 1 sentence, describe your character in 2 sentences. Can I please have Max? How many sentences are we using to introduce our character? 1. Beautiful. Sally, how many sentences to describe our character? 2 is correct. And can I please have someone with a hand up tell me one other instruction I have given? Alex, in pencil. Beautiful. And the last instruction is, can I get everyone all together? We are writing in hiragana. Beautiful. That is 1 introduction sentence, 2 describing sentences. You have 5 minutes to do this. Go now. Looking at each of your character sheets and looking at the character sheet, you will use the likes and dislikes area to write your first sentence describing an action that your character will do. You can also use the verbs that are up on the whiteboard and some of the sentence starters. So in your first sentence, you need to denote what is the location of your story starting. You do this with the particle ni. Then you will choose the topic of your sentence and the action that they are doing. Your topic will most likely be your character. So choose a place, use the ni particle, place your character in and the action they will be doing. Can I please get Sam? What is the particle we use for a topic? Wa, very good. Millie, what is the first thing in our sentence? Location, very good. And Alex, what is the particle that labels our location? Ni, very good. Imagine I go around and help students that are struggling and that need help finding the correct pointer locations on the walls for locations they can use, vocabulary they can use, verbs that they can use, not just the ones on the whiteboard. All right, everyone. Now that you have started writing your sentences, it is time to start drafting them into a story booklet. Each group will need, or each person will need their own little booklet that is like this. This is a draft booklet. It is 8 pieces of paper stapled together that you can use to draft out your story. I need 1 person from each group to come get 1 booklet for each person at their group. Then you will each create a title page and start writing 1 sentence on each page. Can I please have, with hands up, someone to repeat the instructions to me? How many books does each person need? 1, correct. How many people from each group are coming to get the booklets? 1 is also correct. Well done. And what are we putting on the front page? A title page. Very good. So imagine this is the front cover of your book. After that, how many sentences per page? 1. Very good. But one person from each group can come now and collect booklets. Those of you who are sitting and waiting, you can think on your title of your book. Okay, go. Part 2 of AT3 is all about feedback. I've chosen a Year 8 group on the topic of travel or holiday plans. They will be presenting a travel itinerary after 3 to 4 weeks. It will be oral presentation, either one-on-one or through a whole class presentation, or recording submitted if needed. The main focus of feedback is around the micro skills embedded in languages. Year 8s would be predominantly assessed on their ability to listen and speak. This is so that we can assess them aligned with the Australian curriculum of communication and understanding. The feedback that Year 8s mostly get is verbal, informal, and regularly throughout a lesson. This can be planned, or more likely it's going to be spontaneous as teachable moments arise within the class. It is regularly one-on-one, to a small group, or to the entire class where feedback is needed for them to shift or adjust. Students who are struggling to grasp the listening and the speaking are regularly given the feedback to immerse themselves in language outside of the classroom so they may receive more input so they can further their language skills. I regularly give the feedback to watch age-appropriate TV shows, movies, videos, and listen to music in Japanese. This allows students to get their ear in and start to really progress. A key part of them receiving feedback during a lesson, that informal feedback, is them understanding key words and key phrases that they can use to ask for it. So I will have presented around the class words, question words especially, that denote what I'm asking in a DPRS style and what they can ask me if they need to know a specific piece of information from something I've said. So dare is who, nani is what, doko is where, etc. Also, key phrases such as wakarimasen, I do not understand, moichido, once more, yukuru shite kudasai, slower please, and key particles that denote certain parts of a sentence, like wa is a topic, ni is a location or time, ka means it's a question. You hear ka, you know it's a question, and then you can ask what specifically I have said if you didn't catch it the first time. So this is a way for students to actually gain feedback actively, not just be given feedback. So students will receive predominantly verbal feedback regularly during a class and throughout lessons. Written feedback for Year 8s is minimal as they're not assessed in this area as much or in this format. But when there is a summative assessment that has a reading or writing component, I would give feedback to them with English explanations. Majority of data collection for these students is informal. It is throughout the lesson. Constantly I am checking for understanding. I am watching whether students are engaged. The great thing about a TPRS style lesson is you can see it clear as day on their face, the light in their eyes, when a student does understand what you are talking about and they know the answer. I find that engagement is increased, students are more confident, and they're much more willing to contribute to the lesson and to the class. Students who are excited to share with their friends the answer, to help others, and to work in groups in a competition style activity. So I can collect data formally through students when we run summative assessments. This can be, for the 7s and 8s, a recording of their oral presentation. It can be a product they've produced, whether it is a PowerPoint or a poster or something else like a book or whatever. And it also can be in a test style where there is one correct answer. But majority of data collection would be informal, with a small part of it being formal. Part 3 is differentiation. So to begin differentiation in languages, we first need to understand where our students are at. We need to assess their ability, find out what kind of background they have in the language so far, find out if they have any learning disabilities or difficulties and any other barriers that would limit them in accessing the language. We could do this through a summative test, through formative tests such as checks for understanding and simple verbal back and forth in the first couple of weeks. Once we know this, we can start to proactively prepare lesson plans, expectations, worksheets, work samples, texts that are aimed at these students, and so that they can access the language and be as successful as possible. The differentiation and adjustments that can be made to all lesson plans and tasks can be used to scaffold and support students at lower levels. It can also be used to extend students who have a grasp on the language, some background in the language, and show high ability in extending themselves. So firstly, we can differentiate the input that we provide to students. Looking at the macro skills that we see in languages, we can actually differentiate the way we present the language to the students, how fast we present it to them, how much of the language is repeated, presented around the room, if it has English attached to it, if there's Romaji, which is the English pronunciation attached to it, pictures to assist for understanding. When we ask them to give us output, what is the level of expectation for them? So students that are lower, we may offer them scaffolded worksheets. We may offer them questions that are simplistic. We may offer worksheets that have all of the word banks attached to them, Romaji above all hiragana, a limited amount of kanji right at the beginning. The language would be simple and polite. Particles may be bolded and underlined so that they can break the sentences up more clearly with clear understanding of the meanings of words in the sentences. When it comes to extension activities, I would look at stressing some pronunciations of sounds, specifically the mouth mechanics that go with the R sound. I would look at providing individual activities or independent work for students so that they could extend themselves, whether this is using the dictionary, using audio books, listening to music, vocabulary, audio clips, and quizzes. We could extend their ability to decode kanji by studying the radicals that make up each. And then with their writing and reading, offering text and paper that allow them to read and write Japanese from top to bottom and right to left. So a great example of differentiated work I have is here. So imagine for my imaginary year 10 group, I gave them a writing activity where they used a character sheet to write a short story about an animal. So here we have two examples of character sheets. The top one about the dog is full of English translations, Romaji, which is pronunciations, and the hiragana sentences with particles and polite endings. On the bottom section, we have a lot of kanji, no sentences, very limited English pronunciation, no Romaji, very limited English definitions, and a much smaller text. So this is not the only way we can differentiate work for students. We can differentiate the types of questions we ask them. We can differentiate the worksheets we give them, whether they have word banks attached to them or if there is Romaji above the questions and words presented. The font size that we put these texts in place, and the expected response. Are we asking for one word answers? So this worksheet here is a great example of a differentiated literacy resource for them. We have scaffolded literacy supported work character sheet at the top, and we have a much less scaffolded activity at the bottom, with kanji being the extension in the target language literacy. Also, with the tasks that we ask them to repeat. So a student with a lower ability and need to differentiate, we can ask them to create their storybook with one sentence on each page with a picture included. And for a student we want to extend, we can ask them to do 2 to 3 sentences on each page with at least one adjective included in their definitions. We could also ask them to use past tense form. There's so many adjustments that can be made. It's as far as extending students as far as you want and asking students as much as you want or as little as you want. To reinforce numeracy in Japanese is quite difficult. So it can be, as a lot of it is, vocabulary, learning the correct counting words for certain things. So you could set a task where students are solving a riddle that has a numeracy aspect to it, whether it is problem solving, whether it is decoding. Yeah, but it is mostly based on language and literacy. I think that's everything. Nope.